Hello, this is Purge bringing you guys the first person replay commentary. This is a Slardar game that I played a couple days ago, and I thought I would go over it, explain some of my mistakes, some of my strengths, some of the good things I did, talk about Slardar mainly. So to do that, let's hop in the Dotabuff section. If you guys want to skip this, just click on the screen or check the drop down box for the skip time. Some things about Slardar to take a look at. First of all, he has basically been in the pro scene a very long time now. Very popular hero for offlane just because of things like amp damage is very good. Corrosive haze amplifies the damage you do physically to one hero, so it helps counter a lot of heroes and combo with other physical lineups. And the other really good thing he has is Slithering Crush, which is an AoE stun on an 8-second cooldown. It's really good. 2.5 out of 8 seconds uptime. So very good skill. You're also very mobile with Guardian Sprint, which makes you take more damage but makes you run fast, and you also got a bash as well. But this is mostly irrelevant because you don't really play Slardar like a carry. It's mostly like a reinitiator. You jump in, stun people, run out, jump in, stun again, kind of similar to how Sanking is played. So he's got a really high win rate right now. In fact, if we look at the trends, his win rate actually jumped after 7.0, and I think that the changes to him weren't super severe. If anything, he got nerfed, I dare say. So yeah, basically all he got was a talent tree. That's the only difference. But the talent tree stuff that he gets is pretty good. This game I think I tried out the health regen, but almost every pro player gets plus 175 mana, so that way they can reinitiate multiple times. Health or attack speed, you can get some armor here to solve some issues or some damage, and his level 25 is plus 20 strength, which is quite good. 400 HP with 20 damage. I recommend getting that over the bash chance in almost all cases. But yeah, as a whole, Slardar is a little bit better than he used to be, that's for sure. Who knows why? Could just be the map changes, could be things like for example, Sardar's not the best offlane hero because he's pretty easy to zone. Now because of the fountain, or whatever the heck they're called, the shrines, you can get your HP back up a little bit faster. So in a lot of ways, Slardar is a better hero. Or at least fits better into the game and is more popular. So common things, I already talked about his skills a little bit. His base stats are pretty fantastic. He's got really good base armor. His movement speed's bad, 290. But his strength gain is great, his agility gain is very good, his int gain is pretty weak, but it's okay, you don't really need that much mana on this hero. Good base damage, all that good stuff. So, common items, Blink Dagger is pretty much everything you need just so that you can blink and then initiate with your Slardar stun. The radius is pretty huge, 350, so that's a diameter of 700 units. So that's like a very ranged attack, and that whole distance you can stun in the AoE of that, and if you're staying in the middle of that attack. It's pretty huge. Power treads are good because you get attack speed, which gives you a higher chance of bashing, but to be honest, pretty much every game you should buy Tranquil Boots. This game that I'm about to show you, I pretty much sat on Brown Boots the whole game, which ultimately I think was a mistake. The reason is because, first of all, you get 3 armor. They only cost 900 gold, and if you haven't taken damage, you're running at 85 movement speed versus at Brown Boots 45. So you get a 40 movement speed advantage when your Tranquil Boots is kicking in. That's really good. It also gives you HP regen, which you actually really need on the hero. This game I tried getting the 6 health regen at 10 to offset that a little. I thought it could be justified, but I really was feeling the lack of movement speed when Tranquil Boots was active. You do lose movement speed when it becomes inactive, but you're only going from Brown Boots is 45 movement speed. When you take damage from Tranquils, you're going 30. So you're only losing 15 movement speed. It's really not as bad as I thought it was. I really regret not getting Tranquils this game. Magic Wand's important. Force Staff super big because then you can blink into initiate, stun, and then force yourself out to get out of danger. Things like Guardian Sprint aren't very safe to use for that reason because it actually amplifies the damage you take. So you have to be very careful how you initiate and when you initiate. Stout Shield early game can be good. Most of these items are honestly just super luxury items. BKB is fantastic though, just because it gives you another ability to initiate and escape again. Heroes you're good against are heroes that stuns counter or are weak to physical damage. Anti-Mage Spectre. Heroes that usually have a lot of raw HP but not necessarily a lot of armor. Slardar is really good against because other heroes, you can amplify the damage at other heroes, including yourself, due to those heroes. Here's your bad against Tidehunters, is definitely one of them. I think I had issues with that this game, if I'm not mistaken. I think I was against a Tide, or maybe it was the other Slardar game I played recently. But his Kraken Shell procs and removes debuffs, which is things mostly amp damage, or Corrosive Haze, excuse me. It's a low cooldown, 5 seconds, but if you have to reapply it every 5 seconds, only to do 400 damage until it breaks it off again, Tide's a good hero. Oracle as well, probably just saves people, removes the Corrosive Haze debuff, things like that. And a lot of these other heroes just are very, very high damage over time, good disables, that kind of stuff. And they're fairly survivable as well. So it's difficult for Slardar to jump in, burst somebody down, and kill him right away. Like, if you looked at the items I talked about, they're basically not damage items. They're pretty much just initiation items, and sometimes Slardar's played as a core with things like Armlet or Deso or Sulcurus, but those are mostly from lower MMR players. That playstyle is not very viable at high levels. I really don't recommend it. If we look at the hero meta statistics, his highest play is at 5k and above by far. He's in 18.3% of all games. He's in a ridiculous amount of games. One of the most played heroes right now. He's got a 52% win rate, which is quite good. He's basically been picked from the pro scene for about 2 years here. So not too surprising here. My win rate is 56.86. I've played quite a few games of Slardar. Played 2 this week. So with that said, let's hop into the game. Actually, before I do that, why don't I kill all of this? Black screen, oh no. Okay, here we are in the game. Thanks for tuning in. So there have been some small issues with in-game Dota 2 spectating, or replay spectating. They've looked a little weird. Oh yeah, Slardar's got a remodel, by the way. I have this set on, but I couldn't figure out how to turn it off when I was loading my hero, so I just didn't. But that's okay. I'll just speed up on the times when I'm a little behind, or boring stuff's happening. So a couple of things to talk about the map. I know that I haven't done I think this is my first replay commentary since 7.00 started, so maybe you'll get a lot of my thoughts here. Sorry again about not doing that yet. I know I've been uploading stream VODs and stuff like that, but keep in mind I've had tons of things to do since I got back from Boston, since I was out of the house for like 2 weeks. So finally catching up on, pretty much caught up on just about everything, except for, you know, the whole having Christmas thing tomorrow. It's currently Christmas Eve for me, it's about noon. So the reason I saved gold was because I randomed, and because I randomed, therefore I could justify getting a fast boots of speed, which I was able to do with the bounty gold. Now, the way that I lane this wasn't very good. If I talk about laning just a little bit, let's look around the map just a bit here. So playing offlane is pretty much still the same, and to be honest, playing Dota is basically still the same. It's just your priorities are a little bit different now compared to what they used to be, perhaps. So if we take a look at what I'm aiming to do, my goal, as always, as an offlane hero, is to make sure that I get experience, and that ideally I mess up their creep equilibrium to continue for myself getting experience. And ideally, the most important thing really is levels. The more levels you get, the earlier you can actually move around the map and get kills. So my goal is just to mess up equilibrium. Here, I was learning stacking on the offlane. You actually can't pull and stack at the same time anymore. Well, you can, it's just the timing's really difficult. You basically have to pull this out a couple seconds earlier than you used to, because right now these creeps should be about here. Then I could aggro them over here, and sometimes they don't get back in time and the new camp spawns. So I've seen somebody do that before, but I very quickly learned here that all I really did was stack this camp, and I didn't actually get a pull through, which is pretty stupid of me, because honestly Sven is just going to clear this later with Great Cleave anyways, right? So ideally what I would have been able to do there is pull the creep wave out. My creeps would have followed it over, and then these creeps would have probably defended or denied at least part of those creeps, which would have given me a big advantage in the lane. Especially because then their lane would push. I could take the creep wave to my tower and get a basically free level 2. Now, because there's 3 heroes in this lane, this is actually kind of dangerous to me. They also have a Lich, so he's going to always push the wave back towards himself. But again, your priorities are still the same as an offlane hero. It's just there's more ways that you can get what you need. Like the large camp is mostly still the same. The small camp is basically still the same. You can still pull the large camp into the small camp over here. As far as it looks, it actually looks so far, but you can easily make this. And in fact, pulling on this camp is even easier than it used to be, in my opinion. This camp is a lot easier to connect, and this one is maybe still straightforward. I don't know if I've played Dire. Maybe you can connect this. This actually looks so far. But this pulls all the way out here. Maybe this will go. I'm sure it will work. You could probably still connect through. Anyways, if things go really bad, obviously, you can go to the shrine, get some regen. Heals you for 600 and a total of 200 mana. Is that right? Yeah, 200 mana, 600 HP, really good. And there's also some camps over here as well, if I really want to jungle these. There's a medium camp, a large camp, and an ancient camp. But I can't really do the ancients, obviously. But yeah, if things get a little bit rough, that's really where I should be going. But the game's basically still the same. Don't die, pretty much. I fucked up that part a lot this game. We also have 1.5 times speed now in replays if you guys are interested in that. I thought that was very nice. But yeah, I'm just trying to make them waste some of their time focusing on me. Because if there's 3 heroes in this lane right now, and they're not pulling, which they're not because they're bad, then that's going to give me experience, and it's also going to take up 3 hero resources, where in the meantime, I have a tri-lane, and if my tri-lane pulls, then we are getting more advantage than they are out of the laning system. And ideally, I want to juke around in trees a lot, basically. I don't really always want them to know where I am. I believe you picked up brown boots here. I also have a level 2 now, so I can feel safe to grab Guardian Sprint and Southern Crush. I didn't talk about my skill builds in the Dotabuff section. Totally forgot, but that is reasonable. Because of the fact that, yeah, we can talk about it now. Maxing Slither and Crush is almost always what you want to do. Level 1, you will almost always grab Slither and Crush because it's a stun, and that range is beautiful. That AoE is beautiful. Guardian Sprint is very good with 1 skill point as well, just because it gets you out of danger. Here's an example of me getting the pull down. You know what I should have done actually is I should have casted Sprint, I think right away would have been really smart. It looks like I'm fine here. But yeah, see, Lich is going to deny some of this. I would like to be over here for some of that experience, but in fact all the creeps are dead already. So I think this is okay. And I probably should have just kept this out of tower range, because then I would have had a higher chance of getting the last hits. But as a whole, I accomplished my job by doing a side pull here, because now it gives me some last hits, 1 exactly, not much. There we go. Some last hits, and most importantly, some easy experience. It's a little bit worried about getting hooked here. See, I thought it would be fine here because I stunned the Pudge, but I used Sprint. I think that was actually a mistake because it amplified the damage that I took. Instead, I maybe should have just walked. I totally forgot about the fact that Sven would have a stun because I'm stupid and I don't plan things very much. And because of that, I end up getting killed. So I actually felt safe there. I didn't think that was that big of a deal. I got hooked by Pudge, but as soon as I got stunned, there was clearly some issues going on. So that was pretty bad by me, giving the first blood. On the bright side, though, I am getting a lot of experience right now. I'm sitting at almost level 3. I will get level 3 by this push. And the most important thing really is the range creeps, because those give the most experience. So as long as you can get in those a little bit faster, it's really nice. I had to use my stun there to guarantee that I got both of those creeps. So I'm pretty happy at this point, even though I did feed first blood. I've almost got level 4 here. I grabbed 2 points in stun. Some Slardar players will prioritize. This is the biggest mistake that I made all game, actually. So because they committed the pull here, I wanted to get over here and contest it. But the issue is that by walking up, they instantly reacted to me, and now they're just going to kill me. So I'm super out of position. Pretty much all I can do is like eventually land a stun, but they played it very smart by staying away from me, so I didn't just stun multiple people. Because if I stun both the Sven and the Pudge, then I can sprint away. But if I only get one of them, the other one will land their disable, pretty much. So that was pretty stupid. And now I basically have to walk back to the lane because of the fact that that I did just die after TPing back. I think my TP wasn't off cooldown. I'm actually taking a really long time in base here. I think I was messing around with some settings or something. I think I did stream this game, by the way. I just wanted to talk about it on stream. Or as a replay commentary, because I thought it would be very informational about how to play Slardar. And luckily it was a good mix of me feeding and doing well, I felt. So, alright, bounty runes spawn every 2 minutes. Don't prioritize bounty runes over other efficient lane things. You should just you should add in bounty runes to whatever you're doing in the first place. Don't think of them as a complete substitution to being able to farm anymore. That bounty rune gave me like 70, 80 gold or something, not even that. I think it gave me like, what, 4, 8, like 60 gold. That's a 1.5 last hits. And if it gave me that much experience, I don't think that's really that much either. So normally this would be a decent time for me to stay back in lane or whatever and continue to lane. But the problem is that I've been getting killed a few times. And one really good thing to do if you are behind and feeding is to go somewhere else and show up. And this is one of the best things by far that Slardar is good at in the early game as an offlane hero. Just because I already have a mobility skill, and I have a stun. It doesn't do a ton of damage, 125 physical, but it does stun for 1.9 seconds. So the way that I approach this is really important, because when you're approaching ganks on the mid lane, you basically have to make sure that your mid hero has the mana to actually contribute, and then you also have to make sure that you approach from a place where you're behind your opponent as you initiate the gank. So I sprinted in, aiming for the back of him. I didn't run directly at him. I ran to the place where he's going to escape to. And by doing that, I was able to get a stun off. I stacked the Ancient here. I don't know if this stack went through. I'd actually love to check here. Okay, so the stack timing is still the same for Ancients. Actually, this doesn't stack because even minutes don't stack anymore. I just grabbed a bounty rune there if you guys are curious. So I actually wasted a little bit of HP in that moment. But that's okay. The wave happened to push in, so now I can again get a creep wave. So despite dying twice, I think I'm pretty happy right now with how the game is going. The gank on the mid lane, pretty important. Not very happy with this last inning. This was a really nice gank by them. I really like how they did that with the hook and this fence sitting out. That was a beautiful gank by them. They really deserved that kill. I got super outplayed there. Pudge had a very good game, I must say. So, dead. Definitely want to TP back up to this lane because there's an easy creep wave under tower. I thought it was easy at least until Pudge lands some baller hooks. But it's only going to take maybe a little bit more of a creep wave, maybe like 1.5, 2 creep waves until I'll be level 6. And once you're level 6 on Slardar, you're in a really good spot, just because you're pretty much ready to do all the damage you need. So there's my sprint. It's putting me at about 428 movement speed. Keep in mind, again, I could definitely have Tranquil Boots right now. 3 extra armor would be actually really appreciated against heroes like Sven. And also we have a Weaver in the top lane, which means that I can kind of play a little bit more aggressively now. In fact, he spotted the Sven here. I don't know if he'll get the kill or not. Yeah, that's right. He didn't get Geminate here. It was actually a pretty big mistake. If he had Geminate, he also canceled his animation there just to auto attack. If he had Geminate, that was a dead hero, a dead Sven. So kind of a big mistake by Chachi. I could have maybe rotated over as well, though. So not necessarily just his fault. Give him a tango here. So this is one thing you can do to push towers as an offlane hero. It's actually not as dangerous as it used to be, because now when neutral creeps kill the enemy creeps that you want to farm, you get 50% of the experience instead of 0. So that means if I get the last hits, I get the gold. I get the gold and I get the full experience. And if I miss the last hits, then I just get half of the experience, which I think is pretty good, considering because these creeps are now here, instead the creep wave is doing a lot of damage to the tower. So I can basically do an aggressive pull like this. And in fact, we may see a lot more offlane heroes actually focus on farming in this way, or at least pushing the tower. So even though I'm not a very good hero at pushing a tower, I can actually pressure the tower a bit easier. That's a gank that I would love to go for, is the Purge here. So the way that we approach this gank is important, because we don't really have the best ganking duo here. It's pretty good because we both do physical damage and we can both amp physical done, but we want to approach it in a way where ideally I start the fight with a crush in melee range as Chachi also breaks from invis. We don't really want to reveal it separately. But right here, I showed the Pudge that I was here, which was a pretty big mistake, so I ran to the left. Because if I kept going this way, I would reveal myself and run in a direction that made it look like I wanted to gank him. And I don't want him to think that I'm going to gank him, so that's why I ran to the left here. Really important stuff. And then because he ran over here, this is pretty straightforward. I was actually really late initiating. What I should have done, actually, looking at this now, was as soon as he got over here to the side shop, if we take a look at just our vision, we should be able to see this. I can see him over here. Right here, I should have instantly started sprinting, because at this point, I know that Pudge is in a location where I can easily cut him off. I could for sure get to here by the time he gets to here, which means that he's still very, very far away from his tower. But because I hesitated, it caused me a lot of problems. I could use Guardian Sprint here. I also could have used a Quelling Blade on a tree to get there a bit faster, but instead I kind of stood around. And what I ended up doing here was mangoing Chachi. But I messed this up honestly so bad, because what I did was I corrosive hazed from range, which allows Chachi to initiate and do good damage. But now by the time I actually get in melee range to stun, we're already under the tower. And this was not really the smart way to do this. It did end up with me getting a kill, so it was okay. But it also gave Doom some experience here. So ultimately, was it worth it? I'm not so sure. And in fact, I actually lost most of the gold that I gained from killing him in the first place. And Doom got 334. So it was about equal, I guess, if you look at it as a whole, but not really a good situation, I would say. I would argue that was ultimately not very good, but whatever. I'm a little closer to Blink. And again, I am skimping on going Tranquil Boots, which, you know, probably affected my initiation there as well. I would have had an extra 40 movement speed. I might have gotten closer to the Pudge faster. We popped a smoke here to approach this, but this is now a little bit too obvious. And honestly, like, if you look at my movement speed right now, this is maybe the biggest reason that I should have Tranquil Boots in the early game, because I'm actually stupidly slow, and I really felt that. I'm popping sprint, and I'm not really feeling that fast. Here's a Witch Doctor with just brown boots running at 350. And what am I at? 428? That's like no difference. 70 movement speed, it's significant, but it's not so much that I can instantly chase somebody down. It doesn't feel like I'm fast. And that's literally because I don't have Tranquils. And I think it's mostly because of the amp that Guardian Sprint does. Because the movement speed increase that it gives you is based on what movement speed you currently have. So if you increase your movement speed with either percentage-based things or static numbers, then you're going to get a bigger benefit of it. In fact, I'm going to test this out really quick in a game. Okay, I hopped in a demo really quick. Here's a great example. So here I am with just brown boots and windlace. Now I'm running at 335. If I activate sprint, it puts me up to 428. If I pick this up, it should put me at 448 if it gives me 20. But it actually gives me a little bit more. It actually gives me 26 movement speed because of the fact that sprint gives me a percentage-based movement speed bonus. So that means by not having Tranquil Boots, I was actually significantly slower than I would have been otherwise. If I have Tranquil Boots, I'm running at 375. What was I at? 428, I believe. And now I'm at 480. With just 2 points in sprint, 480 movement speed. It's a huge difference. And here with Windlace, 2 points in sprint, 500 movement speed. This is massively different than what I had before during the game. And I super messed up. I just really didn't want to buy Tranquil Boots because I found the regen a little bit unnecessary. But really, it's more about the movement speed than anything else. That is quite clear. 428 versus 480. That's actually 60 movement speed for like 400 gold. 500 gold. Absolutely worth it. Get Tranquils, guys. Alright, so we're back in the game now. So let's again take a look at this moment. I'm running at 385 with Smoke. I activate Sprint. I'm running at 420. If I did have Tranquils, and I could have Tranquils and a Windlace here, arguably, I'd be running at about 500 movement speed. Which means I very likely could have caught up with him, or at least threatened him about there. I think would have given me a better initiation potential. So buy movement speed on Slardar, it's really good. Or what you can do as well is you can put more points in Guardian Sprint versus Slithering Crush. It's not really that big of a deal because the scaling on this ability is good but not amazing. I've actually seen a lot of Slardars, maybe not a lot of Slardars, but enough where it's not uncommon for really good players to actually go like 3 points in Guardian Sprint, 2 points in Crush, or even 4 points sometimes in Sprint and 2 points in Crush. Because the thought is if I get the stun off, I will get the kill. It doesn't. It's more important to have to be able to land the stun at all for it to be a strong stun if I can't land it in the first place. So that's Chachi to farm with me. I'm sorry, Chris Blanket to farm with me a little bit here, and the reason was because at the moment we had just made it really obvious that we were on the top lane. They all revealed us. So if we stick around, what's eventually going to happen is that we get ganked, basically. And that's very dangerous to do. And I don't really want to run up a cliff like this because we just revealed that we were in the area. I really wish that we were able to get an initiation off. And maybe if I had Tranquils, that could have happened. Instead, what I was doing is trying to greed out a Blink Dagger. And this is a big mistake, actually, to use Guardian Sprint here. Because now as I'm jungling, I'm going to take more damage. But the nice part is that these creeps have such a short leash range now, so that you can't pull them into the mid lane, for example, that you can actually jungle them a little bit easier as a melee hero than you were able to in the past. So you should just occasionally back out and attack it again. I actually took more damage than I needed to here, but it was alright. I really do recommend getting Quelling Blade on a lot of melees. It's fantastic against neutrals. It's not very good mid-game like it used to be because now it just does raw damage of 24, whereas in the past it did 40% damage increase. So once you get like 100 damage, it's doing 40 damage. Now it just stays static at 24. So it's a little bit worse than it used to be, but still very good actually to have on melees. And on range heroes, not as good, not even slightly as good as it used to be, but could potentially be used occasionally. So I basically just figured I would jungle here. And you can actually jungle decently fast with Slardar just because of Corrosive Haze. Amps your damage by like 60% or something like that. And of course I was also using things like Slithering Crush to amplify this. Now I've got two options here. I can sprint all the way back to base to get my Blink Dagger. Or I could potentially hit up the fountain and then go buy it from the side shop. But this is a little bit safer just because I know that they won't see me coming when I buy from here. If I did have Tranquils, this would be a little bit faster though. I was a little sad he denied that actually because I would have loved to actually be there for that fight. But I certainly want to gank here with Tiny. Once you do get a Blink Dagger on Slardar, this is basically when the game opens up and your game pretty much starts. This was very surprising. We didn't expect to see 4 heroes on the mid lane. 2 would have been fine. I maybe should have waited like a half second to initiate there. But I don't think my initiation was terrible. Part of the issue is we have no wards aggressively. Actually, we have no wards at all. So because we have no wards, it's difficult for us to know whether or not it is a good idea to go in. But I felt like that was a good time since I got Blink Dagger. If we go in those guys and Tiny's able to follow up, we definitely get a kill. But I probably should have waited at least like a half second or a second to go in there. I went a little early. So now I have to sprint to the mid lane because I already TP'd. It's a little unfortunate for me. It's a pretty big ult from Charlie. It was really nicely done. Cask actually did a lot too. This is a pretty good fight for us. Fortunately, my sprint is on cooldown a little bit. Now, I slightly hesitated on my initiation there, and that's because I wanted to see if I could hit 2. I could have jumped earlier to jump on the Sven, but it's really important that ideally you hit multiple people every single time that you used your stun. That's my movement speed bonus. Knew I was pretty much close enough to get the kill at this point. We let the Tiny grab that one. Really good fight for us though. We got tons of gold in that fight. Okay, this only counted the Lich one unfortunately, but it's a case here where I wish I had 5 more mana, but I did not have it. It's okay though. Grab the bounty rune on the way out. I think I should have actually ran mid here. I ran over to the shrine instead to get mana. But I feel like I could have just stayed in the area. And then I went down for the bounty rune as everybody died. I don't know if me being there would have changed that much, but I probably should have gone with anyways. I do that a little bit too much lately, just get a little greedy on the map. I really recommend you guys don't do the same thing because it makes a big impact on how much gold you get. Again, I was going to try to greed out something like a Treads, but I felt like I was doing well enough right now. Despite my 5 deaths, I feel like I've been doing a good job since I got Blink Dagger. So I wanted to go for a Midas instead, especially because I wanted to scale late game, because Tiny isn't really like the best late game core. He's very magic burst heavy, but he isn't very good at like beating tanky heroes that do really good single target damage. So I wanted to go Midas, that way my attack speed increases, which is great for Bash later, but also just because I can help be more of a carry for my team in the late game with item purchases. Actually, I can pause. My office is actually open today, surprisingly, and I got a package, and they're calling me to tell me that I have another gift or something. Pretty cool. Anyways, running into the top lane here to go defend. This is pretty important, how these fights go. This is a really good example to break this down is that right now, like if a Sven is pushing a tower like this, and you're not seeing a lot of other heroes on the map, and it's nighttime, there's a really high chance that they're all behind you. So I could have ran directly at this guy and stunned him, but it's really not very worth it because he can usually just Warcry. Actually, this would have been a great time to go in because he used Berserk. So he can't cast spells, and he takes bonus physical. So technically, he wouldn't be able to use Warcry, and he's already at 3 armor, which is actually very low. If I just initiate right now and use Corrosive Phase, who knows, maybe I kill him. But normally what you want to do actually is wait until your allies kind of soft commit to him, and then you jump on the back line. So in this fight, for example, I was able to stun 4 heroes, which was quite good. We also got a great Witch Doctor cask. But the important thing is that the Chain Frost didn't bounce very heavily on our allies. Pretty nice. And here I want to go on the Pudge, because he hooked my Witch Doctor. I go in, but the important thing is I didn't blink directly on top of the Pudge. I blinked slightly to the left. That way, when my Crush goes off, it actually hits multiple heroes. And in this case, it actually hit quite a few. I actually don't know if the stun hit Pudge or not, but either way, Charlie got a really good ulti off on everybody. So a lot of damage being done there. And then at some point we can reinitiate. I really messed up here though. I tried to blink Crush, but because the shoot, what's it called? Scorched Earth hit me, it canceled my Blink Dagger. I'm going to try to lead off the Pudge here. Ultimately fine. This would have been a great time to have an extra 175 mana, by the way. But I got +6 health regen instead, unfortunately. So basically I picked up a Midas instead, and the Midas purchase I think was ultimately good. I just really wish that I had Tranquil Boots instead because of the extra movement speed that it gives you. Would have been a lot better. I really wanted to take this tower, especially while they were dead. I was able to get the last hit as well, which was kind of nice. And then I decided that I didn't want to die before using my Midas, so I went back to pick up my Midas. So picking up a Midas is fine, just because it does give you a lot of it gives you a lot of gold over time. In this game, for example, it'll give me, I believe it's 1.9 gold a second, which is about 117 GPM or so. If you use it every time that it's off cooldown, that from now until the end of the game, it'll give me 117 GPM, and the attack speed, obviously. And the attack speed's decent on my hero, just because of bashes and stuff like that. But I think I spent a little bit too much time farming. And by I think, I mean I know. I spent way too much time farming this game. Like this, for example. Safe creep wave, it's by your tower, you feel justified in pushing it, right? But the issue is that Slardar doesn't push very fast, and I don't have that much mana, so I don't really feel super justified spamming out Slithering Crushes. Instead of this, me slowly auto-attacking this whole wave, I should have brought somebody else here that can push the wave more rapidly, and therefore get active on the map. But because I'm sitting here jungling this means I'm not moving somewhere to get a gank off. Which is actually a pretty big mistake, honestly. Because that's really what Slardar is. He's not a farming hero. Like, he can farm, but he's much better as a gank hero. You've got a hard stun, you've got amplified damage in the physical sense. That would be a much better way for me to spend my time, rather than running around like this. Oops. Let's got a player perspective here. Like, I should be farming somewhere aggressive. A great place for me to farm right now, I could be farming down here. Like, for example, Doom just showed on the bot lane. If I was farming the jungle instead, I could have jumped on this guy with help of Witch Doctor. I would have stunned him. He has pretty good armor because he has, like, toughness aura here and a Vlad's. But I easily would have put him in the negative with my ulti. It would have put him at -6. And Witch Doctor can Maledict that. And he could have ulti. Honestly, that's probably a kill. Dead Doom. Now we have a hero advantage, we can push a lane, we can take Roche, we can do so many other things. But instead I'm just passively hitting creeps. So yeah, I got some gold here, but it didn't actually further our team and help us to win the game. It's just me walking from camp to camp to camp, farming neutral camps, which is not really worth it. At this point, we were grouping to go top, which I thought I was stacking that, but ultimately Blitz wanted to force a fight here because he saw that they were split up. The fight started pretty bad though. Luckily, it didn't bounce twice to him at least. But and again, Charlie with a really nice ulti here. Oops, I'm sorry. Tried to slow that down, but sometimes the button presses are a bit iffy. Missed my ulti here as well as, or my stun. That was pretty bad. But I did get a sick ass bash though. That's for sure. Oops, let me click on my hero. There we go. So the way that we do this fight is pretty important. Basically, every time that somebody else lands a disable, I want to follow that up immediately. Because basically we took him from 80% HP all the way to nothing, despite having very, very little HP. That kind of a thing is really important. If you're min-maxing your hero like that and always running at your opponents, they don't have as much time to farm, and they always have to react to a lot of things as well. I don't know if we saw that TP coming or not. I'm not sure. But this is actually quite dangerous. We stayed quite a ways there. Quite a long time. Again, I'm missing mana. Certainly could have had the plus 175 mana. I think I saw on Dotabuff actually it has a higher percentage win. I think it's like 1% higher if you go for 175 mana versus the 6 health regen. Health regen is just really not very justified. And I went to go farm here just because of the fact that my Midas is off cooldown. But I think what I messed up was right now was when I needed to run back to the base. That would have been so much better than just continuing to jungle. Like killing a neutral creep, it's pretty nice. I guess I did get 15 from it. But like right now, instead of doing Ancient's minimum, I needed to go get mana. Because basically I took a fight, then I got a little bit of mana from this fountain, but not much. And now I'm just AFK jungling to increase my farm speed. But instead, I could have just been healed, then at the top lane to start a fight. And because I ended up AFK jungling here, I was actually late for the fight, and we lost the Witch Doctor at the start. Which means that the fight doesn't even go well anyways. Because I wasn't prepared to defend anybody or to initiate. So now we lose Witch Doctor. Their team is able to push and take a tower. And I'm not really able to fight anymore. I mean, I kind of can. I ended up buying a Force Staff here. I'm getting gold, but losing tower is so much worse for the sake of your team than me losing a little bit of time farming. So much different. Especially, imagine if we get like another 5-mana wipe or something like that. That makes a huge difference in the game. So having everybody be ready is like the base level of how you get advantage in the game. And because I'm just AFK jungling routinely, it just constantly puts me and our team behind. Mostly our team. It helps me decently because I'm still getting ahead, but they're getting ahead faster than I am. That's why it's so important not to passively farm almost all game. The only time you want to do that is if they have better team fight than you, and you know that you're going to outfarm them or hit a better window later. That's the best time to actually AFK farm. We're hoping to see the Sven over here when we move down. But engaging in somebody is certainly really important right here. I kind of like our wards right now. They're decently deep, but they're not super, super deep. Kind of wish they were a little deeper, but they also have Observer wards spotting me out, moving here. So this is kind of dangerous. I felt really dangerous at that moment just because we hadn't seen them in a bit, and I didn't have wards covering me. And they had gone off the map from over here. And here again, I'm going to push the mid lane out just because somebody has to. This is one case where it was okay that I was here. Blitz ended up getting grabbed by all the heroes. It's a good quap ulti at least. Pretty much this fight didn't start super well. Got a good stun on 2 heroes at least. I almost Force Staffed away from the Pudge there, but... Oops, you can't see my skills, unfortunately. It's bugged replays, man. I think it would have been better to run right, actually. Just they didn't have a tier 1, but for some reason I didn't feel comfortable running to the right. I wanted to get home. I also could have just stunned here as well as soon as he blinked. I super choked here. Easily could have stunned. If I stunned, then I get away 100%. Because my blink dagger would have came off cooldown. So, that was a good fight for them. But we lost that tower because I was late. Here was maybe a little bit of Blitz's fault. Like, we probably should have had a smoke and just crossed the river kind of a thing. Is what we should have done, but it didn't happen. Now because I feel so slow, especially because the Sven was able to catch up to me here, I felt justified in buying a Boots of Travel. I didn't really feel justified, but I wanted to buy it because I know that it would increase my movement speed a lot. When in reality, if I just bought a Tranquil Boots and used it in accordance with Sprint, I would get way more movement speed. And for so much less gold too, because Tranquils is like, what, 900 gold? It would have cost me, yeah, basically like 400 gold, 500 gold. I would have had Tranquil Boots with 85 movement speed, whereas BOT gives me 100. So I'd have 15 less movement speed for 1,500 less gold. It's completely worth it. And I'd have 3 more armor, which is not bad considering the amount of physical damage our opponents have. Got an Aegis here, so definitely trying to take a good fight. Lich dies at the start. I got a really good stun on 3, but the problem is that Sven's really doing good damage here. So that made things a little bit hard when we're losing most of our heroes at the start. Close some things. Hopefully this gets a little less laggy. Got another decent stun off. Forced him away as well. Don't know why it's still not really showing my hero very well. It's a good stun again by the Sven. I didn't want it. I didn't want to chance him cleaving onto the tiny here. He did a nice job with that kill though. Although he ends up getting caught by the Sven in the end anyways. Not very worth it. So we're kind of in a bad spot at this point. Bad fights after bad fights after bad fights. We kill a Doom, and I think we killed the Lich, I believe. But that was it for the engagement, just because Sven got his BKB off. It's super huge. Oh god, I'm not clicking on that.
Radiant's top tower is under attack.
See, I justified a Midas, but then getting boots to travel afterwards is really the wrong choice. If I had BKB instead, for example, I can actually initiate fights and sort of fight. I can't fight the Sven, for example, but some of those other heroes I can deal with a bit better. And would provide us better solutions. A lot of starters in the pro scene, actually, if they're having a good Slardar game, what they usually buy is actually a Shadow Blade, just because that way they can move around the map a little bit easier without getting spotted. And they can scout for enemy heroes in a place where their opponents would see them and be able to react in time. So instead of like giving them equal reaction time, if you're looking for heroes, you can have a reaction time advantage. You already have mobility advantage, but having reaction time advantage on top of that would be really good. So usually Shadow Blade's a good transition, or you can get a BKB, or usually it's one of those two, Shadow Blade or BKB after you get Blink Force. So I definitely was on the wrong path here. It's a nice grab by Blitz here. He was able to get the stun off just in time within the sentry, because I didn't actually have detection. I think that was just an invis rune though. Pretty sure. So we got a kill, which means we can now actually try to pressure this and get an advantage out of this. Somebody's got to push the tower. I might have shown here on the creep wave, which is a mistake. But basically we need to ideally take the tower here or try to take a good fight. And I don't actually want to come up and hit the tower because then my opponents know that I'm there and they know where I'm standing. Did get a stun off on the Purge at least. Is able to save Witch Doctor, I guess. But Charlie ends up dying for this one, which I don't think was worth it. Just because we did get the tower, and that's good for gold and all, but because he's dead now, he's dead for 60 seconds, which would force a buyback, which means that for him to even defend, you know, he's not going to be there. We don't want to have to buy back for this. He actually bought out here, which is reasonably fine, I guess. You know, but every death makes a big difference. I actually canceled my TP here because I wanted to buy an AC component, and I didn't press the button fast enough, so I had to cancel. So, picked up a plate mail at least, more survivability, but they get a tier 2 tower out of that. That's pretty significant. And I could have maybe even sat to the top lane, for example, say with Chachi, and then if somebody comes top that's like semi-squishy, like either Lich or the Pudge, maybe we just kill them, you know? That would have been better. Again, we're pushing out mid lane. Really wish I didn't have to do this so much when I'm playing Slardar, just because he can push, but he's not amazing at it. I kind of wish I had something like a Maelstrom or something. Not that that's really a good item to have to push out lanes, but... And honestly, I'm spending too much time going for jungle. Like, I'll occasionally grab something like a bounty rune, and then I'll just hit up a jungle camp afterwards. But instead, what I should be doing is looking at the map and think, like, where can I go aggressively to farm? Like, instead of farming these two camps that I just farmed, I could farm over here instead. And then if an enemy hero happens to gander up there and go to the creep wave, then I can actually set up a kill. But instead, I'm just passively jungling in a place where I'm not going to get ganked. And that's fine, but I'm so mobile that I could be in a position that helps me and my allies actually get kills. And that would be better for me to do in the scope of winning the game than how I played it. And another thing I also showed on the creep wave here. Those creeps definitely saw me, and now they know there's 3 heroes top. There's no reason for me to show here. I could just hide. It would take slightly longer for them to take the creep wave, but at least they don't know for sure that Slardar and 2 other heroes are in the top lane. Here they actually had an observer ward, so I got blown up instantly. It was a really nice doom by them. I bought back because I felt like I could probably help here. Ultimately, it didn't help out very much, unfortunately. Tried to get the Witch Doctor out of danger here. But unfortunately, it was just death after death. And with me buying back there, actually cost me quite a bit of net worth. I was sitting a little bit above the Dragon Knight there, I think. But yeah, that one cost me about 1,000. which again is basically just using up resources, right? Blitz ended up getting caught there as well, unfortunately. So now my contributions don't feel super strong, unfortunately. I do have my TP up though, and they're very likely going to push mid because we have dead heroes. So instead, what I'm going to do is go to the top lane to pressure those out, or to pressure the lane out. I'm going to run away just for safety reasons, but as soon as I see 4 heroes mid, I know that they're going to commit to this. So I'm just going to try to do is push this lane as fast as possible. Another item I actually could have bought, maybe a Vlad's would have been alright. Just extra armor for everybody, and myself as well, and creep wave pushing actually. Vlad's is amazing for actually taking towers. More creep damage, more creep armor, pretty much everything is increased. So I'm just trying to do as much as I can to the building. Once I realized that that wasn't actually a TP on a creep, I got a little scared, but it's a good attempt by the Pudge. We lose a Rax there. I do some tower damage. It got it down to like, 30%. That was good, but it's not amazing. I picked up 7 armor. I think this is probably the better one to grab. I think on Dotabuff, players are having more success with plus 35 damage, but I feel like that's more of a low-level pub thing. The way that Slardar is played, I think the added armor is actually really beneficial. Maybe not so much this game because there is so much magic damage and pure damage and stuff like that. But against Sven at the very least, the armor is quite nice if he's hitting me directly. So because I'm kind of behind here and we're having trouble fighting, I feel justified altering my item build to go for something that's more team fighty. And I picked up a Lotus Orb instead of grabbing something like an AC, which ultimately, it's a good item to reflect Doom, Sven stun, Dragonite stun, Pudge ulti. Very good against all that stuff. But the problem is that you have to use it correctly. And if you don't, you're spending 3,900 gold on an item that really doesn't have very good item buildup at all. I mean, it's 10 armor. If we take a look at it. Oh god. Sometimes it's really difficult to click on stuff in this game right now. Like, I can't even. There's bugs, man. There are bugs. Alright, we're going to go free camera. And then we're going to click on this. Okay, so what it gives. 10 damage, 10 armor, 6 HP regen, 125% mana regen, and 250 mana. That's literally what these things all give. So base stats alone, it's a pretty shit item. Unless you really need a mix of armor, regen, and mana. It's pretty good for supports late game usually. And a lot of offlane heroes will buy it usually because they sometimes have mana problems, and it's nice to have the potential to reflect an Omni Slash, for example. But for me personally, almost every single time that I buy a Lotus Orb, I don't get good value out of it. I think I need to stop purchasing as much. Or ideally, we just have better early game fights, and as a result, I wouldn't feel the need to buy something that was better team fight. I could instead just focus on like transitioning it into more of a core role, like getting a fast AC. With that kill, we do get Roche Elise, which is really nice for us. Dies really fast with all the minus armor that we have. Which is mostly like what Medallion, Deso, Chachi has a Deso here. Really wish we had a gem actually. So many awards that we ran by this game. I actually should have gone for this. I don't know why I'm hitting creeps here. I 100%. I actually missed the stun on Pudge. This was huge. Because I meant a little bit more disable on the tiny. My attack speed is actually quite lowered here. Doesn't feel very good. A little bit of a halberd. But 4 staff getting me out of danger. I just need to blink in 3 seconds. Luckily he didn't blink on me. And now this looks like he's just passively farming, so run in for a little amp damage. A little combo here, and I can follow up with another stun, and pretty straightforward kill. That was a good one. So that was a good engagement, I think. Looks like we did lose Charlie as well, so maybe it wasn't amazing, but we got a lot of experience out of this, whereas maybe Sven did. I'm sure Sven got some. And again, back to farming, right guys? We really should be just focused almost entirely on kills right now. It's a really nice blink dodge from Will there. Could have been him dying. Would have been him dying for sure. So our farm levels are still very good, but our teamfight engagements have to be better, and Sven is just so far ahead from getting snowball kills. Kind of need like, I don't know, Ghost Scepters or something would be maybe a better option, or good reaction times with Glimmer Capes, but purchasing the Lotus Orb now. Can reflect Doom, Chain Frost, Sven Stun. Pudge ult is great just because Pudge rarely has BKB, so actually it should still disable him. If you Lotus Orb somebody and Pudge ulties them, Pudge will instantly stun himself, thereby canceling the ult. So if you prep it in time, it's very, very good against Pudge. Sometimes it's difficult to react in time, but it's fantastic when you get it off. Kind of the same with Doom. Maybe that's less good usually. It's usually okay for a Doom to trade to Doom, but definitely not a good thing, I would say. So So basically we have to push out lanes pretty much all the time, just because our opponents could actually attempt Arax, and having better map positioning really helps us. We also don't have very good vision right now, which would really help. I saw that Doom was here by himself pretty much, so I felt like going on him was going to be pretty good. I was able to get the Doom reflected and the DK stun, but now I'm pretty much just slow. Can't use my Force Staff as well. I just assumed that the Dragon Knight wasn't very close. It's a good BKB usage there by Dragon Knight. Guarantees my death. I was probably dead anyways, but definitely helps guarantee it. And unfortunately we're going to lose the Witch Doctor as well. So very bad situation for two of us to die. And that was my dieback, by the way, so I'm actually dead for 90 seconds now. And I also don't have buyback because I spent on Lotus Orb. So yeah, not the best situation to be in for our team. And basically because of that, now they can push the other lanes in, possibly get tier 2s, maybe even get some ganks off in the meantime. Blitz was trying to grab the Doom here, but he actually blinked past, I believe, is what happened. It's decently farmed, but I mean, just Tiny has so many problems getting single target kills. Usually you buy Ags just to increase the speed at which you push lanes and farm, but the issue is that you just stop being useful against single target tanky heroes. Like, Tiny's just not a very good solution against heroes like Sven. Doesn't deal with them very well. So they will get a tier 2 out of this. Just ultimately my mistake. I shouldn't have gone on the Doom. Or if I did, I should just ran away. Like, why bother? Why commit to him trading a Doom on me? That hurts me more than it hurts him. Losing the Witch Doctor here is really detrimental as well now, because now it's even harder for us to engage. Chachi doing a little split push here, but unfortunately they are kind of going for the whole end of the game thing. A really nice play by the Dragon Knight to anticipate when I went in. Because of that, he gets the stun off on me and I just guarantee my own death. Using Lotus Orb wouldn't have even helped either, because once he pops a BKB, I wouldn't have... he basically guaranteed that only he gets stunned there. It's a nice hook by Pudge as well to get him super out of position. So basically we super through. That said though, Quap cleaning up a little. Ultimately I think they do kill the Dragon Knight too. Yeah, they do. They kind of went all in slightly. Just accelerate. Pudge got out too. I just don't feel very good about the Lotus Orb, but really this game was lost just because of a couple fights where we didn't have 5 ready. That was basically just it. It just would have been 1. We were fighting well, just I was not there because I was busy farming. This is a decent place to farm at least. Like, we can push out lanes when some of them are dead. It's a decent advantage, but again, it's the same thing. I grab a bounty rune and I go back to farming. Instead, I could stand in this area, look for a kill, or maybe be prepped to initiate on mid, for example. Like, that is always going to do more than me hitting neutral creeps. Like, getting a couple 100 points in gold really doesn't do very much. Especially with these items, I'm not going to win late game by going for a Lotus Orb. I feel like maybe going in there would have been nice if we had like 3 or 4 heroes ready. But it's kind of hard. You have to be really careful with your initiation. Maybe the game losing moment was probably right here. Pretty soon at least. Yeah, they ended up going on the Witch Doctor instead, so we're already down a hero, which sucks. Now we just have to be able to predict initiations kind of, or at least react to them. And right here, like, they can see us, we can see them. I 100% should have Lotus Orbed him. I mean, it's technically Bliss's fault in the first place for getting jumped on. Did he buy Mjolnir? Who bought the Mjolnir? Oh, it's Charlie's actually. I should have Lotus Orbed him. I also could have... Okay, I did force him actually, but he got hooked back. That was super big. Looks like I echoed a Chain Frost as well, but you know, at the end of the day, stunned, killed. We easily could have won this game, easily. I think if I buy Tranquil Boots, the game kind of changes in a lot of major ways. I get Tranquil Boots picked up, and I've got 3 more armor the whole game. I've got way more movement speed, so I can get around the map faster. I can also get back to Fountain a little bit more rapidly as well, and just constantly fighting, basically. I think just Tranquils into Blink, into Midas, maybe hold a Magic Stick early game. Go for the plus 175 mana instead of the HP regen would have been better too. Then I wouldn't have even needed a stick early, really. get the Midas, get the Force Staff, and then I can buy like an AC or a BKB or something like that. But mostly the important thing is that we would have just kept re-engaging, kept fighting, and ideally winning team fights. And I'm pretty sure we could have with the re-engages, but the problem is that we fought very rarely, and when we did fight, they had a pretty good team fight. I mean, Pudge, Doom is really strong. Dragonite with a BKB, very difficult to kill. He doesn't even have an armor item here. He basically just has Heaven's Halberd, and with that alone, he was really tough to kill. Same with Sven. BKB, AC, very difficult to kill. And maybe our supports, I mean, Chris could have been more farm, but again, he's the low MMR. This is mostly on me. I died 11 times, almost as much as anybody else in the game. And it ultimately cost me a lot when playing Slardar. So don't play him greedy like me. Buy a Midas if you guys want, but absolutely walk around the map and just get kills, because the Midas will just give you gold no matter what. And I didn't even get to level 25 anyways, which I don't think would have mattered much. I could have gone maybe 20 strength or something, but I don't think it makes a big difference. How was the Dragonite? What are his perks again? I don't know if he had experience gain. He probably very likely did, I think, because he had Midas or whatever. Let's go all the way back to the game. He was level 24. He was actually leveling quite fast. And I have a feeling that he got the experience perk. Quite sure that he did, considering that he bought a Midas. Don't know if that's what you do now or not, but over 40 damage. That's a tough one, man. I almost always want to take that 40 damage, but 25% experience gain is quite good. Hard to say. I bet he grabbed the gold per minute and stuff like that. Very possible. So, yep. Don't farm. Go fight. That's important when you play Slardar. And yeah, other than that, I think I took the team fights okay, but my greediness around camps was pathetic. All right, thanks everybody for watching today. I appreciate it, and I'll catch you guys later. Hope you guys have a good Christmas. Bye.